Starting now. So this is the 5th class in the webinar series, Make My Design Life Easy. And kind of excited about this one because it lets me work in an area that I think is really powerful in IronCAD. Talking about the Learning IronCAD series, our first lesson was setting up the scene, the workspace, and that's available, as you can see, on YouTube. The second lesson was drag and drop, designing the shapes, and that lesson is also available on YouTube. And the third, streamlined sketching, available. And I was just talking to you, Joe and Igor, about the fourth lesson, which is the IntelliShape. And today's lesson is integrated history-based direct edit modeling. So that's what we're going to look at today. And IronCAD is an integrated history-based direct edit modeling system designed from the ground up. You can use both paradigms in your design. So I'm going to actually show that right now rather than in the PowerPoint. I'm going to jump directly into IronCAD. And everything that I'm going to do, Joe and Igor and friends, is going to be from scratch. So it's like cooking from scratch. It gives everybody the opportunity. First lesson, we talked about the actual scene, and that's an interesting thing to look at, but I'm going to start specifically designing the shape. And what's interesting about this is it gives me an opportunity to show everybody that on the TechNet website, all of the things that I'm showing you are laid out. And so this integrated history-based direct edit modeling, both paradigms in the design process, what we're going to be showing today is a simple part like this, and how you can create this type of thing in IronCAD really very easily. And I'm going to get started right now. So the first thing we want to do is drag a block and extrude directly from here, and I'm going to bring it into the center of the scene. Drops at 0, 0, and I'm using a space mouse so we can look at this. Now, if I want to change the sizes of this, I happen to know, and by the way, I'm looking at this on another screen, just if anyone is interested. It's kind of like I can see that this shape is 6 by 3 by 1.5 high. And what's kind of neat about IronCAD is that, you know, multiple clicks do interesting things. So the first click brings me to the part level. This is the actual part 1 that we just dragged onto the screen. The second click brings me to what's called the IntelliShape level. That allows me to change these different sizes, and you've all seen this, the fact that I can drag and drop and this sort of thing. But there's another level of click, and that's the third one, which brings me to the face editing, and we're going to get into that. But you can just cycle through these different things as you see. So I'm going to go into the IntelliShape and time saving. I know the full dimensions of this, so I start out and I say simple. I want it to be 6 by 3 by 1.5. Double click 1.5. See, okay, there's the first shape done. Now, what if I want to put a dome or a rounded top on this? Well, that's really kind of simple because I'm going to drag a cylinder shape and put it right on this front face, as you can see, and snap to that point there. And the reason that's really kind of neat is holding down the Shift key, I can just find this other edge like this. And look what's happening as I drag this, it's finding these faces. But here's something that's really neat. 3 drag, and we now have one shape with a rounded top. Really kind of fun and easy to work this way. Now I'm going to go to the other side of the screen and grab a simple cut extrude, and I'm going to put this right down at the bottom here. Okay? And as we had said before, holding down the Shift key, I want this to be cut all the way through, so I can just drag it to this, and I want it to cut all the way to the top, so it finds the top of the part. And, you know, where do I want it to start? At the bottom. So there's the first cut there. But, oh, somebody told me it needs to be what? It actually, there, that cut. I don't want 2 pieces. I want this to be exactly, let's say, move it up 1 inch from the bottom. Oops. That was interesting, Joe. Always wonder about that. So if I just want to move this up a little bit, as you were saying before, it's this, and I'm moving it. Oh, yeah, I see what it's the actual distance too. So it's 1 inch from the bottom. I see what you're saying. And now I need this equidistant around this way. It's 4 inches wide. Well, kind of a neat way to do that is just drag with the right mouse button instead of the left. And the reason I show that is it's a very powerful way of doing this. And I say I want 4-inch, and it's equidistant 4 inches that way. And there's the first part of this shape. Now I need another dome on this side. And that allows me to show something quite interesting. Everyone's used to seeing these, the standard shape, the extrude, the cylinder, but there's another catalog of advanced shapes where we get parts of cylinders or pipes or polygons. And that allows me to lay this out. I'm going to come in here and say, drop this here, this little dome. Oh, the dome actually dropped in a way I didn't like, because I always want the dome to be on this flat face. It doesn't seem to make a lot of sense for this, partial cylinder to be on that corner. So I don't like the way it's dragging, and IronCAD has an anchor system which determines where this would actually be located. Well, watch this. I'm going to go into the tools. I'm going to say this anchor is in the wrong place. I want to move it. So I have the ability now to simply come back and say, move the anchor. Okay, where do you want to move it to? Oh, I want it right here. So I've actually taken this little anchor and moved it to this location. Why would I do that? Well, remember I said that I want, that it makes more sense to me to have it, at that location. Well, I'm going to store that little IntelliShape, and I'm going to pick it up. I'm just going to move it into my part of a cylinder, delete the one that's here, and here's a really neat feature of IronCAD. So now I've got a new part of the cylinder located here. I've moved the anchor. Watch what happens when I drag and drop it. Dude. So I've created a new intelligent shape that I can actually use anywhere. I can use this anywhere, and I can also use it on any part. And notice what it does. It automatically now comes to the correct location that I actually like. So, you can see I can put this thing in anywhere I want. Kind of neat. I'm just showing you that we can alter these catalogs, but let's actually put this in and turn it around. Here's another neat way to just do a quick turn. I want it this way. So nice. And now we'll go into the IntelliShape and say I want to drag this. I want it to go all the way to this face. And I want this one to go all the way to this face. And I want this to go all the way to this. Isn't that cool? And so now, oh, oops, one more. Perfect. So I've got it located in the right, and how high should it be? And this is just a simple matter of taking, say, I can look at the print, say 0.4. And that easily, I've domed this kind of thing, which is really and not a single sketch. Don't forget, we haven't done a single sketch yet. We don't need to. And we're creating this interesting shape. Let's get into some blending. So kind of neat. I want to blend. Of course, with blending, I can just come in and say blend. Oh, go ahead and blend some edges. Which one? I want you to blend this. Oh, and that needs to be 3/8, 375. Good. And I also want this edge right here to be blended. Perfect. Go ahead, give me that. Oh, I chamfered. Not quite what I wanted. I think I'll blend. Might be easier part to create. But the 375 was saved for me. Good. And I want to show you a neat little feature now. Let's do another blend. But you'll notice down here there's something that says smooth connected. What that does is it'll look at this line and it'll find, watch this, click, and it races all the way around because it wants to smoothly connect that. This is a different size, 0.75. Good, I'm happy. There's my part. I've created the first thing, but this is a plastic part. So I'm just going to say, oh, by the way, I could come up here and search for shell part, or watch this. Click on the part and, hit the S key. This is the fast menu. And everything that I could do with this particular part is right there. So that's part. What if I go to the IntelliShape level? What can I do there? Oh, I can I can customize this. I can come over and say, edit the selected feature. I can turn on the triball. But what I was showing you a moment before is if I'm on the part level, that menu is really kind of neat because it comes up and I say, I want to shell it right from here. Shell this. What's the actual wall thickness? 0.125, sorry, 1/8 of an inch. Shelled it out. There's my little part. And now, oh, design problem. Shoot. remember the whole concept here is we have integrated history direct modeling. I had forgotten that this edge right here, that edge, there's another click. If I right click, I want to blend that. Oh, I forgot to blend it before, 0.25. Yeah, I want to do this one too. Good. And perfect. So it did the blending. Let me just check my, oh, there's a big problem. Notice that it blended, but the shelling happened before, so it didn't take into account this wall thickness over here. That's a real problem. Not really for IronCAD though. All I do is say, well, the shell, here's the history. The shell, let me do this blend before the shell. I just pick it up and drag it, and look what happened. It fixed the shell. So important to know that you have that ability to move these things around at any point. There I did the blend and I moved the shell up. The shell doesn't have that blend in it because I moved it before. And if I move it before this one, now the inside is completely sharp and the blends are on the outside because I've, that's a history. I'm actually, and then I could have different radii on the inside if I wanted to go in there and do blending differently on the inside. I have such complete control. I want to match the outside blend with the inside blend or something silly like that. I can do that. Or I just simply come in and say, nah, move the shell to the end, and it picks up the appropriate wall thickness sizes. Kind of neat, right? Now I'm done. I create a drawing of this thing. I'm super happy. Let me just save it real quick. Quick save and call it. I'm going to call it Joe's old telephone. So there, I saved Joe's. That's his old-fashioned telephone. And now I really want people to understand that if I simply come in and give me a quick drawing of Joe's old telephone, and so there it is. Yeah, that's fine. And let's do all just of the, I'm in a hurry here, so give me just this fast drawing. As you can see, come on, give me all 4 views. There we go. Views are there. Just move everything up and out of the way. That's perfect. It's kind of what I want. And this one, I want to use my own scale on this, or what do I want? Just make it a little smaller. That's too big, Bobby. Smaller is this way. Okay, I just wanted this as a representation, but there's the drawing. And now I send this out to the customer, and the customer comes back and says, Bobby, these need to be tilted. I need you to actually come in here and tilt this whole thing back, and this side needs to be tilted as well, and this needs to be, I need some taper on these walls. We've got a problem. No worries. Straight back to the, and I go, well, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to see if I can put a tilt. Remember, that was created with a box. That was just a feature that we put in. Well, there's nothing inside this that allows me to add a taper. So what I really need to do is go directly to this face. Remember, 3 clicks. Oh, I'm on this face. And now this is a marvelous direct editing tool. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say, I want you to tilt that back 5 degrees. Go ahead and do that. So I've actually just said, take that face, tilt it back 5 degrees. Go ahead. What happens? Ah, moved it back 5 degrees and moved that whole thing over. Well, that's really neat. What about this side? 3 clicks gets me into that. Same thing. I want to take this. What if I say this side's going to be a little different? I'm going to move it back 10 degrees just because I can. And let's see how it works. Excellent. Wow. So I got 5 degrees, 10 degrees on that side. And, I have a lot of different power in this thing. Well, what happens if I come in on the outside of this face and do the same sort of thing? I'm going to come back. Yeah, give me 350, 355, which, 255, that would be wrong. 355, good. And I like the way I'm doing this. So it says, Bobby, you've got to change from this point on. The highlighted will be combined and we've modified using face edit. Do you want to continue? Absolutely, I want to. I want it to, okay. So this is now turned the shape into a BREP, a binary representation, but I can still go ahead and work on it. I continue to work on this part with it. I have no worries whatsoever. Flip this one out 10 degrees exactly. And as you're seeing, I'm moving with impunity in what's happening inside and outside. The shell is absolutely no problem whatsoever. What if, though, I go back, oh, there's an original shape here. What if I just drag this original shape in? Oh, look what happened. I can now actually get into the original part shape. What about this one too? Oh, I want this to be a little bigger, a little taller. I'm able to even get back into the IntelliShapes and make changes. And as I'm going, everything is updated. I've never seen a system that is as powerful as this system for creating and changing and modifying. And even more, let me go back into this, I'll do something that I think is really, really neat. I'm going to pull this down. And, that's kind of cool what I'm working on here. And I'm going to go back into a starter catalog and simply take a cylinder. I'm going to cut through here. Oh, that's cool. And I'd like to move that. You know what? I want that coming through oriented. Oh, you know what? I want you to be exactly oriented correctly, 90 degrees. So it's coming through this face, as you can see. Look what I'm doing. I'm coming through that face, but normal to the world. So, and you'll see why I'm doing that in a moment. I'm going to move this up just a little bit. I want to have it up here because I don't want it interfering down at the bottom. And it's a little bit too big, so I'm going to make it a little bit smaller, 875. And I want to put a shaft through this part. So I'm going to go into a thing like this, grab a shaft that I've already got here. Oh, wonderful. I want this to be lined up with this. Perfect. And I'm going to place this shaft directly at the center of this hole. So, I've placed it in. Oh, I need you lined up. Watch this. This is kind of cool. I want this lined up parallel to the axis that I made of this hole right here, because I see that now it's lined up directly with that. Isn't that cool? So the idea that I have this in space and located directly in this part, as you can see, and I'm kind of digging on what I'm doing here, but I notice the hole is too big. Well, I don't want to put in a, do you remember what I did with this hole? Well, all I have to do is use the shift key again, and I've made the hole the correct size for the shaft. And remember, this whole thing is about direct edit. So what happens if I bring in a part that came from the internet? Well, that part is from the internet. I didn't get it, and I'll show you how we do that in a moment as well. I had this internet part stored in a library. I want to mount this on this face, but let's take a look at it. So I would like this to be perpendicular to, oh, I don't know, that. Perfect. And oh, need flip this around. So reverse it. Good. And now I need that mated to that end. So go to the center point of, say, this circle. Now I've placed that on there, but I'm not convinced that it's actually the right size because this came from the internet. How do I make this hole? And by the way, let's look at the history of this. This is nothing more than a B-rep shape. The whole thing is just a binary representation. I have no way of modifying, changing, other than using things like direct edit where I can pull this out. Oh, not quite what I wanted to do, but you notice I'm pulling on a non-native part. Watch what I can do with this non-native part. It's really kind of neat. Get rid of that. Delete it. Done. What about how do I make this the same size as this so this is a press fit? Oh, no issues. Create an IntelliShape from this and simply go in and edit the cross section, right? How do I do that? Let me see. Go ahead, edit the cross section because it's an IntelliShape. So I'm in a sketch mode. Right now I'm in a sketch mode. And what did it do? Well, let me just hide that. It actually took this. I don't want that one. Little sketch. Go ahead, get rid of it. That's not the one I want. Delete it. Show me everything again. And now I need this size. There's here, that IntelliShape needs to be a different size. So all I'm going to do, watch this. This is really, really neat. project this size to my sketch. It's automatically projected it onto this sketch plane for me. And when I'm finished, it takes it, and that hole becomes exactly the same size as the projected edge. And now I can simply bring this thing in and say, okay, I want you to mate this. I want you to go all the way, simply using the dry ball and come in, and now this is mated, and I'm guaranteed that that shaft has mated directly on there, and I can use the set screw. So how did I, I'm creating this little part, and by the way, if I go back into my silly drawing that I've got here, of course it'll come in, it'll say, Bobby, things have kind of changed, so I can just come back and say, oh, update my drawing, and now I've got, the new drawing, and I could get the sizes and give me, the shaded rendering right on the drawing. And anytime I want, I can come back in here and say, change this view scale. I want to use a standard scale, but it needs to be a little smaller. So you can see I've updated my drawing really quickly. And that's kind of neat. So we started with just basic shapes, and we've created a very interesting assembly with a plastic part in here, if you will. Now, what about if I want to go and grab something directly from the internet? So let's take a look at that. I'm going to save the add-ins, and we'll go to trace parts, because there's trace parts, there's the cadenas, there's all sorts of different ways, but I'm going to go directly, and by the way, I'll bring this down so everybody can see it, because I'm actually looking at it on another screen. So as soon as that loads, here's the, trying to do that. Let me see. There's the, good. Okay, so we're in millions of parts online. What do I want to look for? Let's just go find a plate. I need to do some fixturing, so search for some plates. And it's got that. And I can see over this. Oh, by the way, I said millions, 100 million plus parts from leading suppliers, and you can actually get in here and these parts. We can come in and make these things directly. You know what? The internet's kind of slow, so I've done this a moment before, and I don't think I'm going to wait for it, because it has really dramatically slowed down. Let me see if I can find that part from that we were working on earlier, and to see if I've got it here somewhere. Let me look at my downloads and my latest download. I don't think we've got them here, so I'm gonna scrap this part of the presentation, because I can show that. But suffice to say, any of these parts that come from the internet, I have the ability to bring them and then do direct edit on any part. And that's what I was actually going to show you, just bringing in a part, and the idea that any of the parts that I've created, I have the ability to come back into the parts and say, what might I want to do? Edit the cross section. Yeah, go ahead. And then change whatever that cross section is of the part that I've created. And it's kind of a neat idea here. I'm going to change this chamfer and make, the chamfer a little bit bigger, just like that. And you'll see I've gone in and changed that chamfer on this part, all the parts, because they were all actually linked, and that idea, that same thing before, that I can make some quick changes. So let's do a brief review. This is a quick webinar. So we have full integrated direct edit. And what does this do for you? IronCAD's dynamic interaction between object and designer is nothing less than priceless. An excerpt from a review. I've shown you we have different levels of an assembly part, feature, and face simply by clicking. First click goes to an assembly. Oh, by the way, I didn't get to show you that. I did an in situ, and that's the wonderful thing about the single scene environment. As you saw, I started creating a simple part, then I added a shaft, I changed the shaft, then I added a handle to the shaft, and then, by the way, what is this? Well, watch what happens. Select it all, right-click, assemble. We now have an assembly with all of these parts in it, and if I do my click, oh, there's yellow. The yellow is the assembly level. Blue, part level. IntelliShape level. And finally, I can get to face editing. And at any time I want, as you have all seen, I can change at any time, even though I'm in an assembly now. I've gone back and changed. And when I go back to the drawing, of course, any of the work that I have done will now be reflected. This new end is updated. So really kind of neat. Back to our PowerPoint. So showing that different type of thing, I've shown you that all IronCAD parts contain an anchor point to serve as a reference. And so we were able to change the anchor point and use push-pull. This drag and drop design productivity is 5 times faster than any other system. We've been able to work with multiple surfaces. And finally, direct editing first showed up in 1995. It was clunky, but it is now, when it combined with, we are so much more powerful because we have both constrained sketch bait, streamlined sketching, and drag and drop. Appreciate everybody who attended today's webinar. There are many of these on feature modeling, assembly design, cut and paste, direct edit on the webinar page of the IronCAD USA site. Our IronCAD team, we have more than 255,000 users worldwide. We've been in business for 25 plus years, says 20, and we have 165 plus value-added VARs. We're happy to prove it to you. We'll help make it happen. Most people can become comfortable using IronCAD in hours or days, not months like most CAD. Download the 30-day trial, take our free training course, and test for yourself. Appreciate you all. Thank you very much for attending today's webinar, and it will be posted shortly. Hugo, Joe, Rick, folks, thank you very much for attending. My name is Bobby Fisher. It has been my pleasure.
Thanks a lot, Bobby.
Thanks for coming.
Happy Thursday, folks.
Thanks, Rick.
Happy Thursday to you.